say welcome to another episode of Wine and Chisme. And look, I know there are a lot of podcasts out there. So first, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to Wine and Chisme. But if you've ever had that wondering, if you've ever had that inkling that, you know what does it take to start a podcast? What should I do to start a podcast? This is the episode for you because I have the wonderful, magnificent Heidi De La Cruz with me. She is a podcaster, speaker, and a podcast launch coach. How are you today, Heidi?
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me and allowing me in your space with your audience.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you because these are questions that people are constantly asking. I get DMs, I get people asking me, and I can't wait to share. I can't wait for us to kind of share notes and experiences
Yeah.
and all of that. So
Yes.
I'm going to read the rest of your bio. And
Okay.
then if you're drinking anything, you could share that. If not, it's okay. I got mine. I got mine to share.
Yeah. Oh.
Heidi is the host of the two-time award-winning podcast, The American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants, where immigrants share their journey of coming to the U.S. She speaks about immigration, teaches all things podcasting and digital marketing, and shares her mental health experience on managing her PTSD. She also coaches Latina women and busy moms to start their podcasts in 6 weeks or less using the voice method. And finally, she hosts the Podcasting for Latina CEO podcast, where she discusses all the things online, business, and podcasting. In her free time, she enjoys reading. I'm going to have to ask you what you're reading. Listening to podcasts, I'm going to have to ask what podcast you're listening to,
Okay.
and making memories with her familia. So, welcome, Heidi.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
Does it get you excited? Like, I know everybody does things differently. I
Mhm.
love reading bios with people on because, first of all, we don't get that enough, I think,
That
right?
is
But
true.
but
That is
also I
true.
feel like people get to hear like, oh crap.
I was gonna say it's so crazy when I hear my bio being read back to me, like, oh my gosh, I do all that? Like, what in
Yeah.
the world?
Because I read mine and I'm like, yeah, that's true, that's true. But then when
Mhm.
somebody reads it, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of done a lot, haven't I?
Wait, I'm kind of a little bit of a badass here. Hey.
I'm kind of important.
Yeah.
No, it's so exciting. Okay, so tell me, Heidi,
Yes.
what are you drinking today, if anything?
Hmm. I was thinking, I was like, man, I should have gotten, when I went to Publix yesterday, I was like, I should have gotten a wine for today, but I am actually not drinking anything. I did another podcast episode for my podcast before this. So I was drinking water to get, my mouth
Get your
ready for this.
hydration.
Yes. Yes. A water.
Water is always welcome. I always
Yeah.
keep water next to my wine. I'm hoping one day it'll just turn into wine.
Oh
Come
my God.
on. Well,
Hilarious.
today I am drinking Seis Soles
Mhm.
Albariño. Chris Rivera is the owner. He is a friend of the pod. He makes just beautiful, delicious wines. They're out of Lodi, but he has a tasting room in downtown Orange, in Orange County. So,
Mm.
salud, amiga.
Salud.
Mm. Normally I like to talk about, and we will talk a little bit about your growing up and everything, but because I know this is what you do. You're a podcaster and you're a podcast coach. I'm a podcaster and I like to say I'm a storyteller. And um, when people say, "Oh, I don't know what to say," or when I'm like, "Dude, you should come on the podcast," they're like, "Oh, no, no, no," and I'm like, My job is to help you navigate your story. That's what my job is. Your job, like we're having a conversation. I'm like, what we just had a conversation about, that would make an amazing podcast. You don't need to do anything else. I let me drive. Like I'm the one who's driving. You be the passenger princess and just tell you stories.
Yes. People overthink it.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. So tell me, like we were just I was sharing with you a little bit about my journey, but what
Yes.
was your journey into podcasting?
Oh, so I was listening to podcasts for years before I actually launched mine. I can't remember what year exactly I started listening to it, but yeah, I liked interview-based podcasts and because I like people's stories. And even with like how you mentioned about how I in my bio how I like to read, usually I'm reading a memoir when I'm reading a book, and I just love learning people's stories, like what they've been through, what they've overcome, how did they get to where they are today. And I remember it was nudging at me like in 2019. I was like, okay, I've been listening to all these podcasts, learning from all these people. Like, I want to like start interviewing people and just like learn more about them. And but in 2019, I was still doing my master's program, and so I didn't have any extra time outside of school and work. And it wasn't until 2022 I was 3 months maternity leave. So my son was 3 months. So it was like right before I was heading right back to work. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this podcast thing is still nudging at me. Like I still want to like start. I want to like interview people, but I just wasn't sure what type of stories it was that I wanted to share. And as a writer, I blog and things like that. I was actually like starting to research how to start a podcast. Like, okay, what equipment do I need and everything? I need a cover art. I need this. I need that hosting site. And then it finally came to the point where I was like, okay, what is this podcast going to be about? And I actually came across this article on Medium, and it was an immigrant from the country of Kenya. And that particular article, she was sharing each cultural shock that she experienced once she moved to the US and how it like diminished her confidence, like each one. And I was like, this is a really deep article. And then I was like, also thinking about like how when you hear about immigration, you don't hear really about people's stories. When you hear about
No.
immigration outside of the immigration community, it's always like either the politics or the policies and things like that. So
You don't
after
hear people, you hear about numbers.
Yes, exactly. Data and things like that. Yes. So I remember going to my husband. My husband's an immigrant. I'm a child of immigrants, by the way. My parents came and I was born here. And I remember I was like, hey, like you were 9 years old. Do you remember like how you felt? Like when your parents told you that you were moving to the United States or like when you guys came? And he was like, yeah, I remember very vividly. Like, he was excited to come. And then he was also like just in awe of everything, how big everything, because they moved from the Dominican Republic to New York City. So it was like tropical to the concrete jungle. And
Yeah.
he was like, it's just such a big shock. So as he's telling me his story, mind you, he like talked for like 20 minutes straight. And I'm just like, in awe of everything. And I'm like, this is a whole podcast episode right here. Like, this is what I want the podcast to be about. And then he was like confused. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, this, like, just immigrants sharing their story about coming to the US. How was it back home? What brought you to the US? How was it when you first navigated to, or when you first arrived? Like cultural shocks. Who helped you, if anyone? Did you know English before you came? And then like how did they end up like doing what they're doing now? Because a lot of them have their own jobs. So I love going into that as well. Like, okay, what's your job? Who do you help? How did you get here? So that's really how the whole podcast came about. Also, because as a child of immigrants, I would hear my parents talk about like life back home, especially my dad, all his crazy stories of like running the streets and like never being home and going out and partying and stuff. And
Oh, I feel
yes,
like that was my childhood.
yeah, like he was just like wilding out there
He was a
and
little callejero.
yes, literally. And so I love hearing those stories and just like the differences of like how they are here versus there. Because I mean, now they've been here in this country longer than, back home. But like when we would go visit, like I could just tell there was such a difference in my dad. Like he was home and he didn't have to like pretend or he could just be. And it was just really amazing to see.
No, that I love that. And you know what's so funny is or maybe not funny, interesting fact is I always feel like when people, regardless of what you end up doing, like people gravitate to where their heart is, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's something that they were doing when they were younger. Let me ask, were you somebody who was very interested in people's stories when you were growing up?
Yes, yes, I was. And I've always been like a very curious child or like always asking questions. And I talked a lot. I do remember that for a
Oh my
fact.
gosh, yes. That was me because I was that kid, right? I was that kid. Somebody knew. I was always asking questions. I always wanted to just like, oh, what's that? What's that? Or tell me more. And when a new kid would come to school, I would be that person. Hi, I'm Jessica. What's your name? Where are you
Oh,
from? Blah, blah, blah. And I joke that I do the same thing as an adult. Now I just drink wine and record it. Right. But I
yeah.
feel like when you like that heart always comes into, especially if you want to be an effective storyteller, you
Mm.
have to have the heart for that. You have to be able to listen to so many different stories and
Oh my
really be
gosh.
able
Yeah.
to get at the root of why this person is telling the story.
Hmm.
When people come up to you and talk to you, and first of all, love, I have listened to a couple episodes of your
Oh,
podcast.
thank you.
Love it. The stories are really so heartfelt, so amazing.
Thank
And
you.
I think so many, and I think the challenge is like so many of us like to hear that, but I feel like we need, I feel the same with my podcast is I feel like there has to be a way that we get this out to outside of our, maybe they're not necessarily our target audience outside of our comunidad,
Yes,
but
yes,
we need those
yes.
people to hear these stories because they see us as statistics, like you said, as
Hmm.
data and not
Numbers.
as people. And if you
Yes.
heard these stories, and that's why sometimes it breaks my heart when I don't see the numbers as high as I know they should be.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
how, like, when you're grappling with these stories and you hear these stories, what is your like first instinct when you're like, why is not every, but why is this podcast not
Yes.
on everybody's like top 10 list and listening right now?
Oh my God. It's crazy because when I first started, that's who I said my target audience was. I was like, it's non-immigrants, so they can hear the immigration experience versus just hearing the numbers and the data and the politics of it all. Because when all you hear is numbers, you detach that there's actual people and families and humans attached to those numbers. Like this affects so many people. So as I was like, when I start this podcast, I was like, it has nothing to do with politics. It's literally just sharing stories. That's it. And so yes, I was like, yeah, I want my target audience to be non-immigrants so they can learn about the immigration experience. But as I got recording, and I would get so many thank you messages from my guests and from listeners who were immigrants themselves or children of immigrants that felt seen and felt validated and was like, oh my gosh, we went through that too, even though we're from a different country.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, no, this podcast is for our community, it's for the immigrant community. And just recently, a few months ago, I had this lady reach out to me. She moved from Brazil to the UK. It wasn't even to the United States, to the UK. And she was like, Heidi, I've been listening to your episodes. And even though I didn't immigrate to the United States, I still know what they are talking about when they're talking about like the emotional experience of immigrating and the cultural shocks and like, starting from zero. And she was like, I feel seen. And I was like, oh my gosh, like someone from a whole different country, like feels seen and validated because of my podcast. And that to me is so worth it. And yeah, slowly but surely, like more people are finding it, more people are, talking about it and sharing it and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm like, I just live off the feedback that I get from the community. But the more I like network and the more I tell people about it, the more people are finding out about it. And I feel like with the word of mouth is really the best way that we can get the word out there about the podcast.
Yeah. No, I agree with you because I was at first like, oh, I want everybody to hear our stories and everybody. And then because I did start with the intention and I've kept that intention, right? It's about amplifying voices across communities of color, all
Yes.
while drinking a glass of wine. And this will go into, I know people are probably like, okay, so how can I start? But this goes into all of it, right? All of
Yeah.
the things that we're talking about goes into it.
Yes.
Um, it was really like when I named it Wine and Chisme, I was like, well, we can chisme out about anything. So that's why I was like, is it about once the thread line between all of the episodes is everybody that is on comes from communities of color.
Mm,
And I always drink a glass of wine. My guests don't need to, but I do, right?
yeah.
So it's really about amplifying these stories and sharing these stories. So I was very similar in the fact that I would get feedback like, "Oh my gosh, like I went through this or I went through this or oh, I
Yeah.
didn't think I could do this and I heard this story and they've gone through so much and
Yeah.
I've had a similar story and now I, those that feedback and when people reach out to you is like so
Mhm.
it makes you go, okay, maybe not 10,000 people have listened to this episode, but this one person was so affected and it's
Yes.
completely worth it.
Yeah, that one person. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's what I usually say, like when I put out articles or episodes, and as long as it connects with that one person, I'm just like more than happy because yeah, like just that's really the importance of storytelling and why we need podcasts like this and to amplify stories is because that's how we connect with others. When we can
Yeah.
say like, oh wow, they went through that too and they were able to overcome and then now look at where they are. Like also why representation is so important, like seeing people that look like us in certain areas is just so important because it's like that makes lets us know that that's a possibility for us type of
Yeah.
thing. And podcasting is a low barrier or even no barrier way that we can share our stories because you are the
Yeah.
owner of your podcast, I am the owner of my podcast.
Nobody owns our IP, that's for sure. We own it.
Exactly. We control what we put out, who we bring on, who we amplify. And it's crazy because I just recently got quote unquote feedback on my podcast. There was one episode where I came on a tank top. And yeah, so I apparently, from my guest network, her network, apparently a few people had asked her, like, why was the host in a tank top? And so she like, yeah, she was like, oh, I got a few feedback or whatever. And then I was like, okay, that's great, thank you for telling me, like I appreciate, I know that you're looking out for me or whatever. But I was like, there are so many other places where as immigrants we have to code switch, or as people
Yeah.
of color we have to like not show up as ourselves. You have to like play a role and talk a certain way. And I was like, but that's not my podcast. My podcast is literally for all my guests to be their authentic self, share their authentic story, and for them to be listened to. And that's it. I was
And that
like,
includes you to be your authentic
exactly.
self.
And I told her, I was like, where else can I show up with red lipstick, my big hoop earrings, and just talk the way that I talk and be who I need to be
Yeah.
beside by my own show? And then I had an in-person interview too. And I remember my guest, she had texted me. She was like, oh, do you have a dress code for the podcast? I was like, no. I was like, please dress with whatever makes you feel empowered and confident in yourself. Because if you're not feeling yourself, we're not going to have the best show. We're not going to
Yeah.
have, especially in person. Like we're in a studio. I want you to feel comfortable being yourself. And that's what my podcast, like, be your authentic self. So I was like, for me to like put a rule on me on my show, like, no, come on now. No.
That's crazy. Oh, if
Yes.
somebody, I mean, today, literally just 10 minutes before we got on, I was like, let me put something so I don't look dead, right? Because I was doing other
Yeah,
things and
yeah,
I
yeah.
it's like, that's time. But, but if I wanted to come on bareface, guess what? I'm gonna come on bareface. Like, it's
Oh, I do.
nobody's,
I sure do.
yeah.
You go to some of my episodes, I have no makeup on, my hair, my bun is like sideways. I'm in
Oh
a
my God.
t-shirt.
I
Like,
don't know how many times I just throw my hair up in a chongo. A couple episodes back, it looked like it was like a side pony. It wasn't really
yeah.
supposed to be. That's just how it kept. I was like,
Yeah. I
whatever.
was like, my podcast is super casual. And that's how I want the listeners to show up to. Show up as yourself. We're
Yeah,
here to
girl, I'm
share
still
your
wearing my
story.
t-shirt and yoga pants that I took the dogs on a walk this morning.
Yes, girl.
Cause sometimes
Love
I'm like,
it.
okay, maybe I should, but and it depends on how you feel, right? Sometimes I'm like,
Depends on
okay,
how you feel.
I do want to elevate myself a little bit today.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm like,
No.
these people are lucky I'm getting out of bed.
Exactly. It really does depend on how you feel. And I want to touch on that a little bit because you had mentioned in my, my bio, I put like how I do talk openly about my PTSD. And when I was doing like the heavy therapy work, like brain spotting and the EMDR, like there were days afterwards that I had to like recover. And then I used to just like open my schedule Monday through Friday, whenever you're available, let's record after work, of course, because I still have my corporate job. But like once I started doing the therapy, I was like, oh my God, I need a few days to like give myself, break to recover. And so
Yes.
then that's when I started. And I had to like reschedule a few episodes because I told my guests, I was like, I'm not feeling mentally okay. And I want to make sure I'm bringing my best energy to to the podcast. And so then from then I was like, okay, so I need to actually set a recording schedule. So now I record Monday and Tuesdays because now I know like if I do have therapy, it's usually Wednesdays or towards the end of the week. And then that gives me time to like recover mentally and my energy and making sure that I am good for my guests.
Yeah, I do the same. Same thing. Like I used to just, and he used to just be like going back and forth in email and
Yes.
everything. What's good for you? Oh, I have this, and I had to find a process, right? So I use
Hmm.
Calendly, because you've had to go,
Yes.
I use Calendly in order to do that. Um, and sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I'll be gone that weekend. I can just check off the days that I'm not available, but I
Yep.
record, I open up Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But for me, I will usually try and only have one a week. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I have something Thursday. Maybe I'll keep Friday open, but I'm going to close off Saturday. Or maybe
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, I'm
Yes.
going to close Friday and Saturday off.
Yep.
Um, oh, you know what? I actually have like, there's been a couple of times where just so happens I have like three in one week, and I'm like, I'm closing next week off
Yeah,
because
it's a
then
lot.
and I can't batch record in days. Like I can only do one at a time because I'm drinking wine. Otherwise, I'm gonna be a total like borracha at the end, right? And I'm gonna just be like, "Hi,
That's hilarious. Oh my God. Yeah. No, but same thing. Like I remember when I first started my podcast in 2022, I had also was in the period where I was I self-published my poetry book. So I was like trying to promote both, like my podcast and my poetry book. So I was like trying to find guests, but then also be a guest on podcasts. And I remember one day I booked 3 interviews in one day. And by the second interview, my energy was so drained. I was so tired. And I was like, I can't do this. So since then, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do whether I'm a guest or whether I am going to host on my show, it has to be one episode per day. And same thing, like I Monday and Tuesday. So if I have one on Monday, I'll have one on Tuesday, and then I'm off. Or same thing, I'll like, okay, I have one on Monday. I'm blocking off the rest of the week because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think people don't realize because I feel, there's this thing that, oh, everybody starts a podcast and everything. Well, here's the challenge. Everybody may start a podcast, but not everybody continues a podcast. And
Yup.
that is because, and like you said, it's a very low barrier to entry, but it is time consuming. You do have to put effort
Oh
into a
yes.
podcast. So let's talk about what that
Yeah.
entails because I was very fortunate. Pam Covorubias from Café con Pam, she's a good friend of
Oh,
mine.
I love it. She was on my podcast.
Oh, was she? Yeah, Pam's
Yeah.
amazing. She's actually the one who designed my logo
Oh,
for
she's
Wine and
amazing.
Chisme. We
Yeah.
used to live like 2 blocks away from each other, and then she moved
Oh.
away from me. She's like probably a half hour away from me now. I'm sad.
Oh.
But she was the one who walked me through doing a podcast. And she was like, because she had already been doing Café con Pam. So she was the one who was like this, giving me like a tutorial on
Yeah.
how to
Oh, that's
do it.
awesome that you had someone.
Oh my gosh, seriously, it was truly the best. If
Yeah.
I don't know if she's still selling it. She was selling a podcast tutorial for a while. If you like, reach out to Heidi, reach out to but like do so if you're thinking
Yes.
about it, the worst thing I think that probably we all do is hesitation, right? Is hesitation.
Yeah.
My what kicked me in the butt is I was like, okay, let's do it. And then my friends were like, well, we need to throw you a launch party. I had so much support.
Oh, that's
So I had a
amazing.
friend who had a space and she's like, okay, we're going to throw your launch party on February 20th, I believe it was. So that means you need to have episodes out before February 20th.
Oh, that's so good.
And out, so it really, I'm somebody who definitely works better on timelines. Like,
Yeah.
don't give me an open-ended timeline. It's
Because
never
then you're
gonna
never gonna do
happen.
it. Yeah, same.
And I know this about myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things with the podcast. I'm like, okay, I know it has to be done. It needs to be like this has
Oh,
to get
that's
done by then and
awesome.
then. But so that kind of was the kick and bite. So I did drop 3 episodes on February 17th of 2020. Those were my first 3 episodes. And then we had the launch party on February 20th.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
um like I said, for me, I've had so much support in regards to launching the podcast and everything that I know a lot of people may not have.
Yeah.
But with people like yourself, they can have that support, like I did that girl.
Yeah, because I did not have that. I literally was searching everything on my own. I didn't know any podcasters around me, and I didn't know anyone that I could like go to and be like, hey, how do I do this or should I do that? It was literally me figuring everything out on my own. And then I think like a year and a half. Like once you're in the podcast community, it's different because then like you find other podcasters and stuff like that. But when you're figuring it out, you're like kind of just doing it on your own. So like a year and a half in, I'm like in the podcasting community on Facebook groups and things like that on Instagram. And one of the things that I kept seeing come up over and over again is like, I want to start a podcast, but I'm so overwhelmed with like all the information that's out there.
Yes.
And so then I started thinking, I was like, well, I can help people start their podcast. One, because I did it myself and I knew how different it would be if I had someone that I could go to for guidance and questions. But then, two, I love helping people and I was having a lot of fun with my podcast. I mean, I still am, but I'm like, I'm having so much fun with my podcast. I absolutely love the people that I'm talking to. If I can help others to like do the same thing that I'm doing, why not? So that's how that got started with me helping other people start their podcast because what I realized is there's a lot of information out there, but there wasn't like a step one, step two, step three type of guidance because really you can start your podcast in any way. Like you can get your equipment first, or you can do your cover art first, or you can,
You
but
can start talking in your phone and creating it first.
exactly. Yep, exactly. Or you can, register it on like there's not really a step one. So that's really what I did with the voice method is like, okay, if I were to start a podcast today, what would I focus on first and then kind of like work that way. Now, I do have different options where like, people could do the course and they can do it on their own pace. So like if they do want to start with the cover art first, go right ahead. But that's how I got into coaching and helping others start their podcast because I was like, there is a lot of information out there and it does get overwhelmed. And it's just great to just have that one person that you can go to for like guidance and who is a few steps ahead of you to like help you and guide you into the correct way.
What is I'll tell you my answer, what I tell people, but what is the first, when people ask, what's the first question you ask when people say they want to start a podcast?
Why do you want to start a podcast?
It's exactly what I say.
Yeah, why?
I'm like, why?
Because like you said, like we said earlier, like it's time consuming.
Mhm.
It's a lot of work, you guys. This is not easy. It's like it's not hard in the sense it's like heavy lifting hard. It's just time consuming and like again like we were talking about like our energy and like we have to be in the right mindset and things like that to be able to do it, so you really have to know why you want to do this to keep going because again we
Yes.
we said a lot of people start because they're like, oh, I'm gonna yap into a microphone and then publish it and that's it and people are gonna magically listen. It's like no,
No.
unless you're a big name that have millions and millions of followers, no one's gonna listen to your show. So it's
And
like
even that's not a guarantee if you have nothing to
yes.
like. There's how
Yep.
many celebrities have actually launched a podcast and then it never came back. Like there was a season and then they never came back.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it. Like, didn't Eva Longoria launch a podcast? And
Did
then
she? I didn't even know that.
yeah, a couple years
Oh,
ago, she launched a podcast, and then it was both poof gone.
Ooh, yeah. So that's the first thing is like, why do you? And I'm like, I tell my clients, I'm like, it doesn't have to be like a really deep, reason. It's just like, just know your why. Why do you want to start this? Just because everybody else has a podcast? You're not going to continue. And I used to say that podcasting is for everyone. And the more I've been coaching people, I'm like, podcasting is not for everybody. Like, you have to know and understand that this is a long-term game. This is not a what is it? Get rich quick scheme at all. This is not
Girl.
a go viral type of content thing at all. Like, this is for the long game. Like, each episode, I like to use the analogy of like the Three Little Pigs, how they build their house. I was like, each episode is a brick that you're building each time.
Yes.
And then like as time goes on, it's like you build your foundation in your house. So if you're looking to get rich, if you're looking to go viral, podcasting is not for you.
I tell people if you think you're going to start a podcast and monetize, don't start it. It's
Yes.
not because it's not like, first of all, a majority of podcasts out there are independent podcasters. They're, like us, right? We're indie
Yes.
podcasters
Yes.
and don't have the support of a machine behind them. So
hmm
you're the one who has, oftentimes in my case I'm still, and sometimes I'm able to do give somebody else editing, but for the most part I am, the host, I am the producer, I am the editor, I am the social media manager,
That's a
I am
lot.
doing, yeah, we're doing all of the jobs, and that's what so many indie podcasters are doing. And sometimes we're able to find some, relief here and there,
Yeah.
but then there's cost to that, right? And if you're not making money, are you okay with putting in all of that time? Are you okay if you're not getting paid? Are you okay with sitting down to talk to somebody for however long? Are you okay with making sure you have their information and their bio and their, like there's kind of to vet them, right? Do you
Yes.
have, like, I have my application on my website, and oftentimes I'll go, I don't do pre-interview. Do you do pre-interviews?
I do just because of the nature of my podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, because I usually go on like I'll usually go on their website, their
hmm
social media. I'll
You do
kind of
your
just,
research.
yeah, I'll do my
hmm
research, get just so I can get familiar, see how
Yeah.
they're taught, see how they talk to the camera and
Yeah.
everything. There's only been one podcast that I've ever recorded that hasn't been released.
Oh,
One, only one. I'm very proud of that
that
though.
is good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was because she was a little bit tight at the beginning. After she had a few sips, she got looser and it was
A
better.
little loose.
But Ben, by the time it was like talking about education, and we were talking in it, the administration had transitioned, so it just didn't make sense.
Mm, got
Like
it.
it was
Yeah.
just it was just weird timing of when we interviewed and what was happening. So it
Yeah.
just didn't make sense. So that's literally the only episode that never made it to air. But
Yeah.
otherwise, you have to be okay with all of those things. You have to be okay with putting in the time, the effort,
hmm
and I think a lot of times people also don't realize that you can have a podcast. It doesn't have to be weekly, right?
Yes.
It
Thank
can, you can
you.
have a bi-weekly, you can have a monthly podcast. But the thing is people have to know what that schedule is. When
Yes,
are they
yes,
anticipating?
yes. That is one of the biggest things that I work on with my clients because same thing, everybody comes into that mentality that they have to do weekly. And I'm like, no, you don't. What works best for your schedule, especially if you're not going to outsource any of the podcast process in the beginning. You're going to do everything. Like you said, you're going to be the host, you're going to be the producer, the editor, and the promoter, the social media manager. So, do you have time to add all of this in your schedule on a weekly basis? So I usually help people like really look at their schedule and see what is actually feasible for them. Consistency, like you said, can be weekly, it can be bi-weekly, or it can be monthly, but as long as it's on the same day every month, you'll be perfectly fine. So my immigration podcast is weekly. episodes every Tuesday, and then my other podcast about podcasting is every other Thursday. And guess what? I get downloads on that biweekly podcast every single day. Like
Yep.
people are searching, they want to learn about podcasting, and there's downloads there every single day, even though it's every other Thursday. So like success, that's another thing. Like people think that podcasting, like the success of podcasting is just based on the download numbers, and it's not. That's why we got to go back to your why. What is the why do you want to start the podcast? Because that's going to define your success. Because like you said, you're not going to make money from day one. So if money is your main goal, like you're going to be really dissatisfied for a really long time. But if your success is to make an impact, share people's stories, you're going to be fulfilled with the podcast. It has to be, yeah, you have to define what success means to you when it comes to your podcast, because it's not going to be the same. For example, we don't have the same, like, yes, we do interview based podcasts, but we don't have the same goals with our podcast. And that's okay too. So that's why
Yeah.
it's really important to know your why and what goals you have for your podcast. Now, if you want to use your podcast as a business funnel, which I have helped clients do that as well, like you can do that as well. Just, make sure that you attach it like to either digital products or like a coaching program, consulting, service based, whatever it is. But just know that even that does take time to build the
Yeah.
momentum and get the clients from the podcast.
Wine break. Time to refill that glass and come back for more Wine and Chisme. Hola, Wine and Chisme familia. We've got some exciting news to share. The Wine and Chisme now has a voicemail line. That's right, you can literally call us, leave your thoughts, questions, or even suggest topics you want us to dive into on future episodes. Whether you want to share how an episode resonated with you, or ask about previous wines we've featured, or even tell us about your own chisme, we want to hear your voice. Porque este podcast has always been about connection, and now we can make that connection even more real. So grab your phone and call us at 858-304-0266. Leave us a message, tell us your name, where you're calling from, and whatever's on your heart. Who knows? Your voice might be featured on an upcoming episode. Because at the end of the day, Wine and Chisme is about all of us coming together, sharing our stories, and celebrating our community. Now, be a part of the podcast in a whole new way. Again, that number is 858-304-0266. We want to hear from you. Oh, absolutely. I feel like so many, like, we just have very similar experiences in regards to that, because
Yeah.
I tell so many people the same thing when they ask me, because I get, oh, can I ask you something? I've been thinking of starting a podcast. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I'm not ever going to say no. If people want to
Mm-hmm.
ask me, I'm more than happy to share, because I've gone through it. I understand it. I also think people don't realize like 90% of podcasts do not make it past 10 episodes.
Yep. Yes.
And that's why we're saying you need to know your why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there's one thing that you come out of this episode
Is know your why.
is know your why.
We're not
I
saying
know.
don't start. We're just saying know why you want to start, because you're
Yeah.
gonna be part of that statistic of not making it past the 10. I almost ended up quitting my second podcast. Because when I started it, I also started weekly. And by the 10th episode, I was like, oh my God, it's been 10 weeks and I've been hosting 2 weekly episodes. So then I ended up switching to bi-weekly, because I was like, okay, this is more sustainable than hosting 2 weekly shows by myself. I mean, I have my VA that helps me edit my first podcast, but like, I'm still doing everything else, still finding guests, still outlining the episodes, still promoting the episodes and things like that. So yeah, I almost became part of that statistic too.
I mean, it can be really rough. You really have to be able, like, there's times where maybe I was just so exhausted and I didn't do the editing that I should have been doing. And then my husband goes to bed and I'm up 11 o'clock at night editing, because people
Yep.
like, my episodes drop at 5 a.m. Eastern every
Okay.
Wednesday. And I do that. Look, everybody, and I don't do it at midnight because I find everybody drops at midnight.
Oh, I drop at
So
midnight.
I push it out. I push it out because then it comes to the top.
Oh. I'm gonna steal your stuff now. I'm gonna drop mine at 3 in the morning then. I
There
I
you go.
do schedule mine at midnight.
Yeah, I do it
Yeah.
at 5 a.m. Eastern, so it's or 5 a.m. Pacific, sorry.
Oh, okay,
5
okay.
a.m. Pacific, so it's 8 a.m. Eastern when it drops.
Mm-hmm.
So people are commuting, doing their thing, getting their day started,
Smart.
and that's when it drops and it pops, goes to the top.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I do my midnight Eastern. And yeah, usually when I wake up in the morning, like there's downloads and I'm like, oh, people. And then I was actually looking at my numbers one time and it was like obviously not in the Eastern time zone, but it was like 3 or 4 in the morning that was like the most popular time. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But again, people, in different time zones are listening at different
Yeah.
times.
Where's the craziest country that has downloaded that you've seen?
Oh, um, well, right now my second most listen is in the UK. And well, actually, I was actually really surprised that Cuba was
Really?
getting some listen. Yes. I was like, wow, that is interesting knowing, everything that's going on in Cuba. And what was another one that I was like, oh my gosh, people are listening there? Um, I can't think right now, but I know the UK is second. Colombia was in my top 10 as well. Cuba. Germany was my number two for the longest time. And I was like, this is
Really?
crazy. Yeah, until the UK then became my second one. Yeah. It's like,
That's so cool.
it's fascinating to see people from literally all over the world listening to your podcast.
Oh my gosh. I've had like recently I haven't looked, so I'm gonna while I'm saying this, I'm gonna look. But
Yeah.
um I remember I was seeing, oh, right. What the what in the world? Something really weird just happened.
Uh-oh.
Because I just looked, Vietnam just came up
Wow.
hard on countries of
Stop. I
that
have
list.
not had Vietnam.
I have Vietnam, obviously the US,
Yeah.
Vietnam, Mexico, very understandable.
Okay.
Bangladesh. Bangladesh has been on there for a lot.
No, I have not. I don't have anybody from
Okay,
Bangladesh.
whoa. Okay, there's some ones that I've never seen on here that are suddenly popping up. Iraq,
Wow.
Argentina. Argentina does come up pretty
I
often.
have not had Argentina.
No, that comes
No.
up pretty often because of wine, I think.
Ah, el
Because
vino.
of
Yeah.
wine.
Yeah.
India comes up a lot on mine.
Okay.
So then it goes Pakistan, Chile.
I've had,
Chile comes up, and
yep,
Brazil
yep.
does come up for mine.
Yes.
And I think it's the wine thing.
Yeah.
But Vietnam,
I've never. Yeah, you would think like Vietnam or Cuba or, you know, that they wouldn't, but yeah, I was really surprised with Cuba.
that's crazy. I
Hmm.
was like, look, yeah. So I've had Russia come up a couple times before. It's always
Okay.
interesting because I'm like, are these people like US people in those countries like
Oh
listening?
yeah.
Or that's always kind of what I think, right? Like, is it people from the US listening, or
Yeah.
is it or people from those countries actually discovering it, which is,
Yeah.
interesting.
For me, well, yeah, that's interesting because my mindset, since I am talking about immigration and like moving to the US, I wonder if it was people who are curious about moving to the US and wanting to know like firsthand what it actually is. So, but that's
Right.
interesting, yeah, because there are Americans all over the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you say the next, like, obviously, knowing if you can manage the time, knowing your
Mhm.
why, obvious number one, we know number one,
Yes.
knowing your
Yes.
why, knowing if you can manage the time, what would you say the next like biggest thing people have to consider when they're starting podcasts?
Just having good systems in place to be able to stay consistent.
Yeah. Instead of the
I
emailing back and forth like we did at the
Yeah.
beginning.
So, oh my gosh, yes, in the very beginning, yes, I was emailing back and forth. I was also saving my episodes, like the schedule of the episodes in my calendar. So on my phone. So I was literally like, okay, this episode comes out on this Tuesday because it was every other Tuesday when I first started. So I was like, okay, this Tuesday, skip this Tuesday, the next Tuesday. And then I had one person pull their whole episode out and was like, no, I don't feel comfortable. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to literally go one by one through my calendar to like remove everybody and like move it around. And I was like, no, there has to be a better way.
What do you
So
use? Yes, I want to
Google
know.
Sheets.
Oh,
So
okay,
now
okay.
I created a template on Google Sheets where it literally has like the recording date, published date, the guests. I also put what country they're from, the episode number, and if I need any notes or anything. Like, so I first I started putting notes for myself when I went back to edit and was like, hey, remove this or whatever. And then now I put the same notes for my VA. So if I need her to like remove anything, it's like, hey, something happened, we hit the mic, or there was a long pause, and then I'll put those notes in there for the VA so she knows what's to edit out. But yeah, that Google templates, I'm like, why didn't I think about this before and just
It's,
organize all my episodes
yeah,
there?
I know. You know what? I need to utilize, I use Notion and I need to utilize that better. I use
mm,
Jot form. So
okay.
it's a Jot form template that's on the website.
Oh, perfect.
So
Yeah.
when you go on the web, so it goes directly into Jot form. And then I transfer that all over to Notion. So I
Okay.
have all of my guests, all their information, because in Notion you can put in their photos and everything too.
Yes.
So I do that, but I need to be better with that in regards to making sure I'm marking like the episode number when it came out and
Hmm.
any notes. But
Well, I
when
have the
I
template. I can give it to you.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Mhm.
I could probably put that in Notion.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but like having those processes is so important. Like
Yes.
I said, I have Calendly. I did create just a generic guest request, guest confirmation, and thank you emails because
Yes.
then I can just copy and paste, but I can also do it as needed, like make it like when I sent your confirmation when I was like, I know she doesn't need this. I'm like, things to consider before recording,
Yeah.
although I know you don't need this information.
Yes, you did. You did put that. It's like, oh, you're a pro. You already know
Yeah.
what to do. But
Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah, having those systems in place is really, really what's gonna help you stay consistent and do it for the long term instead of like restarting for each episode. So same thing, I use Calendly for my guests. And then in Calendly, same thing, like I have like, hey, please make sure if you don't have a mic, headphones and yada yada yada. And then I also use Zoom to record because I'm like everybody knows how to use Zoom, but then a lot of times my guests are not podcasters. So I'm like, I don't have to teach them how to use Zoom.
Yes.
And then yeah, just making it streamlined. And then for instead of using job form for me, I just use the Google Forms. So I created a like a certain not it's not a survey, but it's like a questionnaire like their name, what country they came from, what age they came, because if they came as babies, they don't remember their home country, if they were able to visit back to their home country, and then there at the end then I collect the links, their social media, their website links, if they want to promote anything, we'll talk about that, and then I give them the opportunity if they want to join the email list to stay up to date and things like
Same.
that. So yeah, all those systems is really what helps you stay consistent.
Oh, you have to figure that out. And there's so many options out there. You don't have to
Yes.
use what we're using, but you do have to do something that's going to keep you on track because it
Yep.
can become really hard. And when we were talking, when you first edit, like now I can go through very quickly.
Yes.
I know what my ums may sound like on
Or what they look like in the
like
lines.
what they look
Yes.
like. I know I'm like, oh, cut that. I don't
Yep.
cut all of them, but if I see a lot, I'm like, oh, what
Yeah,
was I
yeah.
doing this day? Let's help
Yeah,
this
yeah,
out.
yeah.
I think it's really important to know that when you first start editing, if you're new to editing, it might take you my first episodes were probably taking about 3 to 4 hours. The first,
Yeah. I tell my clients, give yourself double time of what it like. So if your episode is an hour, you're gonna need 2.5 hours until you get the hang of it. If you can't outsource right at the beginning.
oh, for sure, if
Yeah.
not longer. And
Yeah.
then you want everything to be perfect. Look, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You can I'm sure you can listen to your first episode, your very first episode. I could listen to my very first episode, and you're like, oh man, because you continue to learn, you continue to grow. I have customized music for my, and I've even changed that
Oh,
where I now it's just a little 5 seconds of the music, cork popping, wine pouring, and we
yeah.
get into it. I used to have like a third, I went from a, I don't even know what I was doing with my intro. It was like some music I just found for free
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
to getting customized music, but it was a minute of intro down to 30 seconds. And now I'm like, you know what? People
Let's just
don't
get
need all
into it.
that. Let's just
Yeah.
get like
That's so
five
funny.
seconds now.
Yeah, when it's funny, my very first episode is me and my cousin. Again, me not knowing what I was doing. I was recording on my phone because it was Anchor at the time. Because
Oh,
when
I
I first
remember
started,
Anchor.
hosted with Spotify for, well, now it's called Spotify for Creators, but it was Anchor at the time. So I was recording directly on the app on my phone, and I plugged in the mic to my phone so she could hear me, but I couldn't hear her because I didn't have headphones.
Oh,
And so literally the first 5 minutes of the podcast were like going back and forth, like, can you hear me? No, can you hear me? And so I was, again, it was like 5 minutes. And then she's like, you're going to edit this out, right? And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But when I listened back to it, I cried laughing so hard. And I was like, you know what? No, so it's still there. So if you go listen to my very
oh my
first
gosh. Okay.
episode,
I'm gonna have to go look at
yeah,
that.
listen to it. The audio's bad, but it was hilarious. And yeah, I mean, because again, I didn't know how long I was going to do it for. And I honestly had no idea what I was doing. But now I'm so glad I kept it because then I look back and I'm just like, wow, we've come so far. And like, obviously, now I know what I'm doing. Now I'm teaching others how to start their podcast and not make those silly mistakes too. But yeah, I'm really glad I kept it because it's really funny.
That's awesome. I love one of the things that I don't do, and here's the thing, you don't have to be you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I am we're none of us are perfect, right? We're not. I keep a lot of just like you hear the dog barking. Oh, a kid comes and runs in
Yes.
when I'm interviewing somebody and their kid comes in. I leave that in personally because to me it's a reminder that we all experience life. Life
Yeah.
happens. Life happens in different ways. And I I love those moments. I
Yeah.
love those moments. I what do you think the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to start a podcast?
Oh, literally just overthinking. Like I've actually had guests who went through my whole program and did not launch. I said guests, clients. Like they went through all of it and they didn't launch. And then I felt bad because I'm like, you invested this money and you didn't do it. And then I'm like, I was taking it personal, but then I was like, no, like it's not personal. Like they have to figure out why they couldn't launch. Like there's
Mm.
something deeper going on. And then I felt bad because again, they invested the money for me to help them because one thing is like I'm not helping just for the money. Like I genuinely want you to start your podcast. I genuinely want you to set up your systems so you can do this for the long term.
Well, didn't
But
you just recently post something on social media that you're like, if you aren't ready or if you're thinking of starting the podcast but not really, or you said something on social media, then be like, don't do my program. If
yes,
you're,
yes. If you're not an action taker, don't do my
yeah,
program. Like
if
I
you're not,
don't work with people because if you're like wishy-washy, like I want to start a podcast, but I don't know, that's not the people that I work with. I work with people who are like, I've been thinking about this for years. I'm done waiting for the right time. I want to take the action now. So that's yeah, because I've had clients that I'm like, they go through the program, don't launch, and I'm like, I'm not doing this just for the money. Like I genuinely want to help you, but if you are truly not ready, then I don't want to work with you. Like I want to work with people who are ready. So I have two clients right now who are getting ready to launch, one in May, one in June. And then I have three editing clients that I'm helping, with that aspect of it. And I absolutely love that because they send me messages of like, Well, one, I tell them to talk to me when they're recording. So like if they need me to like edit something out, so it's they're literally like,
I do. That's what
yeah,
I would do. I'd be like,
yeah.
yeah, his name was Juan Pablo. His name is Juan Pablo. And I'd
Hi.
be like, Juan Pablo, take that out.
Yes, exactly. So I was like listening. One of my guests, she was just recording her outro. She like recorded the whole outro and then it went silent. And she's like, "No, Heidi, I didn't like that. Take that out." I cracked up so bad. And then she redid her outro. I was like, "This is hilarious." Or like I have some other clients that like they go to the studio and then she'll like be talking and she's like, "Nope, messed up, Heidi. Take that out. I'm so sorry." And I'm just like, "Yep, I got it." And so like I tell them like, talk to me if you want me to take something out. So it's just funny to hear that back. But no, I'm genuinely here to help people. I want to be with them every step of the way. So if you're still like wishy-washy, not sure if you want to start a podcast, I don't think that we would work well
Ugh.
together. I'm here to like
If
take
you don't
you.
get that energy, I get that energy from Heidi. Like, no, don't waste. You know what? Don't waste your time.
No, exactly.
My
Because I'm
time because you're
like,
giving me money, but don't waste your time.
exactly. Like you're giving me money, but it's like I'm not here for them. Like I want to help you. Like I want to make sure that we go from idea to launch because that is so beautiful, Jessica. Like sitting down with someone, they have this idea of what the podcast is, and then you take them through like step by step, and then you see them slowly progress. And then when they have it together, and like seeing their reaction and just like seeing their face light up, like just recently the one my client that I'm helping launch now in May, we got together this past weekend and I edited her trailer and I had to record her reaction like listening back to her trailer because she cried and I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. That's the type of people I want to
Oh,
work with, those who are ready to take action, because I live for those moments. Like we're doing this. We already
yeah.
have our podcast. We're seasoned in, but like the newbies, when you taking them from idea to launch and just seeing their face and seeing I love, 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 love that. Love it.
Oh God, that must be such a beautiful thing to see. Like, because people, you're right, people have this idea and then they're like, oh, well, get all excited. Um, when it comes to editing, what are you using for editing?
So it depends. Sometimes I use Riverside, sometimes I use CapCut, and then I also use Alphonic, which does like the AI like smoothing of the audio. So for my clients that have video, I use CapCut. And then for like my audio only podcast, I'll use Riverside because Riverside has like the transcripts. And so you literally can just like remove the words and then it removes it from the audio.
I use CapCut for mine as well because
Mm-hmm.
because we do record video
Mm-hmm.
and you can download video and audio through CapCut.
Yes, I love
That
it.
is, oh, I love that. I love that
Yes.
I'm able to do that.
Yep.
Um, I need more space on my computer so I could download it in higher quality.
Yes.
But you know what? You do what you got to do for now. But no, I that's one thing I do love about CapCut
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
that you can download in both audio. So like when you're talking about managing your time, just to go back to that because it kind of
Mm-hmm.
goes hand in hand. I actually had to invest in, I don't know if you've ever heard of Croissant. So
Mm-hmm.
Croissant is where you purchase a monthly membership and you can go to like all these co-working spaces across the world.
Oh, wow.
So for $29, instead of paying $300 a month to be a member at one co-working space, I paid $29. I get 10 hours. They have like different plans. Right now I'm just doing 10 hours and I
Okay.
think I'll be able to bump it up soon. For $29, I get 10 hours at a co-working space. So I can go once, I'll go once or twice a week and I get so much done in that time
Mm.
versus being at home. So
Yeah.
when I was saying talking about the time management, are you able to do it? I'm in a I'm in a one bedroom apartment, one bedroom, one
Yeah.
bathroom, two dogs, two adults.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no, I record, obviously you see my couch right here. I record from my living room,
Oh, I'm in
you
my
know?
bedroom. That's
Yeah. I
that's why
can't wait.
I have the background because you can see my bed. And for some reason I feel weird having my bed in the background. Although I see it all the time, like people just record in front of their bed. But for some reason I feel weird. So that's why I put the background because I'm in my bedroom.
I used to have the Spill the Chisme like logo behind
Mhm.
me. And for one day I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take it off. And
Mm.
then I was like, you know what? This is my house. This is my home. So,
Yeah,
it's fine. It's not like it's crazy looking behind me. Sometimes you'll get a
it's
peek of one of my
fine.
dogs in the corner. But, but I do know for me, it takes a lot longer to edit when I'm at home
Mm.
versus when I go to the co-working space
Yeah.
and sit there and get it done. I could get in 2 hours, I can get everything edited, downloaded, and do newsletter.
Nice. Yeah.
But here at home,
Yeah.
no way that'll happen in 2 hours. I
Yeah.
might if I because then the dogs start wanting to go out. Then I'm like, oh, let me do this. Oh, I gotta throw a load of laundry in. Like all
Yes.
these other things start happening.
That's what happens to me. Yeah, I do. The majority of everything I do work from home, like even my corporate job. So yes, I get it 100% because it's like, oh, I'm listening to an episode. Okay, what? Let me listen if I need to take anything out. Oh, let me start doing this, or the kids need something, or yeah, yep, yep, yep.
Yes. And then I would say when you're talking about formatting and everything, right? You've got
Yeah,
to talk about, are you going to be just like, once you find out your why and everything,
yeah.
there are plenty of different types of podcasts. Are you a solo podcaster?
Oh
Are
yeah.
you going to have a guest? Are you going to be a duo or a trio, whatever that is, right?
Yep.
Um, all of those things you have to take in consideration, because if you're going to be a duo or a trio in particular, you have to make sure your schedules are
Oh
coordinating. And
my gosh,
that is
yes.
always another layer of complexity that you get to add to all of that.
Yes. So I have two. I have the interview and then I have the solo. And one thing I want to say about the interview was, oh my gosh, when I first started, I did not realize like how hard interviewing actually was. Like it's obviously like a skill now that I have, but like when I first started, I actually had a YouTube video before I launched my podcast to kind of like practice with like my friends and family, right? So I was like asking like really close friends if I could like interview them about like three topics that I knew about them. And I remember my very, very first interview, it was a good friend of mine. Like I knew her, like, and like I had written down the questions that I wanted to write. And then after like 15 minutes, like I ran out of questions and I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Now I'm definitely a way better interviewer and I can definitely keep the conversation going. But in the very beginning, I was like, oh my God, this is hard. So yeah, so that's one thing to keep in mind, especially if you want to do like have a guest. If you haven't done interviews before, you could probably you can probably practice with friends and family first before you start interviewing strangers online. And then when it comes to solo episodes, what I tell my clients is, and then what I do is also just outline the episode. What is the episode going to be about? What is the takeaway that you want your audience to get? And then what are the main points that you want to hit? And then you can literally outline it like that. Do a little intro if you want, or get straight in it. What are the 3 points? And then your strong call to action at the end. Like, what is it that you want your audience to do? You want them to sign up for your newsletter? You want them to follow you on social media? Do you want them to share the episode with a friend? Or do you want them to buy a course? Just make sure that you have one strong call to action at the end. Because if you give them too many options, they don't do anything. And so, yeah, just outline it. Some people are better with scripts. So I just learned, I have the UBC course, which is a personal brand course, and I was listening to their YouTube videos, like teaching about YouTube. And they were mentioning how, like, the top YouTubers actually script their episodes. So, like, they do deep research. Some even take like 4 to 5 weeks to like do research and then they script their whole episode to make sure they're hitting other points and that they don't go off topic. Because that's another thing that I see a lot of people complaining online. A lot of people complain about long intros, like talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the episode in the beginning. And then people like podcasters who are like all over the place. So like don't stay on topic. So I think scripting or outlining your episode, especially for solo episodes, are is really good because another thing that people say is like, oh, I feel like I'm talking, like it's weird talking to yourself. But what I like to do is like I like to imagine that I'm talking to my one person. Like, who is it that I'm teaching on this podcast episode, and what am I teaching them about? So that's usually what I picture in my mind, like that one Latina.
Solo episodes are the episodes I hate doing most. That's true. Okay, so when I started, and again, remember everybody's different, right?
Yes, yes,
Everybody has their own style, everybody's comfortable with different things. So I
yes.
would write down questions and I would notice I wouldn't even go by the questions because we're just getting in a conversation and
Hmm.
those questions would end up just coming up naturally or they'll bring up something else and I'm like, "Oh, you just piqued my
Oh,
interest."
yes. Yep.
Oh, wait, let me go over here.
Yep.
Or they'll finish saying something. I'll be like, I've said this so many times. Let me go back to what we were talking. Like I even did that today, I
Hmm.
think.
Hmm.
Let me go back to what we were talking about or what you said. Something piqued my interest. I also went to journalism school. So,
Ah, you see,
you
you have
know,
that background.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have that
Hmm.
background. And there's been a couple times where I've interviewed other journalists and I get really nervous because I'm like, well, I don't want to think I'm just like a pot. And every time we've gotten off, they're like, you ask really good
Really
questions.
good
Like
questions.
you
Yeah.
are very but you make it very soft. Like you make it easy for people to want to answer
Mm.
those questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but again, that's my background. So I
Hmm.
after like 6 months, I gave up of writing
Oh, the
any
questions.
questions down.
Yeah,
It,
like I mentioned earlier, because of the nature of my show, and we're talking about immigration, which again is tied sometimes to like traumatic events.
yes.
Um, I do send them, I usually stay around the same themes too. So again, we usually talk about life back home, what brought them to the US, cultural shocks, if they were able to visit back home. But then also, like you mentioned, if they answer something that like really piques my interest, I want to dig deeper on that. So it's like, oh, tell me about that, or wait, hold on, what? So then, like, sometimes we go in a whole different direction depending on their story, right?
Yeah.
But I want my guests to tell me what they're comfortable with sharing in regards to their immigration story. I've had guests that I'll send questions and they're like, "No, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that." And I was like, "Okay." Um, and then sometimes too, they will I've gotten a lot that they're very comfortable with opening up to me, and sometimes they open up too much that they send me emails like, "Hey, can you remove such and such thing that I said about so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." So like I do give them like that, like, "Hey, if there's anything that you want me to remove, let me know." Just because of the nature of my the podcast, but
Yeah.
I think if I was doing like a podcast on like entrepreneurship or something like that, I probably wouldn't send questions. I'll probably be like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about, and just go from there.
Yeah. I do have a question. If there's any people or topics that people don't want to talk about then on my intake form,
Oh, yeah, you do.
um,
Yeah.
just because I want to be aware. I don't want to
Hmm.
accidentally wade into waters that, are too deep for
Yep.
somebody. But I also, if they're like, oh, I don't want to talk about politics, well, this isn't unless you bring it up. Now, if you open the door, I'm going to go there,
Let's go.
right? If you
Yeah.
open the door and say, then start, and I've had people do that, say they didn't want to talk about certain things, but then they brought it up. And I was like,
Mm.
all right, you brought it up. There has
Yeah.
to be a story there. And I
Yep.
don't say that. I just continue to ask the questions, drop the breadcrumbs
Hmm.
and they come along.
I love it. Love it.
But yeah, no, solo episodes are like so horrifying for me. Not horrifying. They're very difficult because I'm fully in the spotlight for solo
Mm.
episodes. And
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Oh.
As extroverted as I am, as much as I love being around people, I don't like being the true scent. Like, even when I do my events and everything,
Really?
yes, I
What?
just, I don't, I don't like being full center of attention. And that's why I
Wow.
hate doing solo episodes because I feel so vulnerable.
Yeah.
I So I have to have something for me, I have to have something very impactful to say for a
Mm.
solo episode.
Okay.
So, yeah. But if yeah, I those are the ones that I do have to script out as well.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
can't just go on and talk on it. Anybody, if I'm with anybody, oh, if I had a brick wall, I could get it to talk to me. Right. But then take the brick wall away and it's just me. And I'm like,
No. Aw.
and I know people probably wouldn't think that.
No,
Right.
this is a
Yeah.
surprise to me. Like,
Yeah.
but
So what would be
yeah.
a surprise for people to learn about you when it comes
Ooh.
to anything really?
I would not start a conversation first. If anyone would like let's say I'm at a party, right? Like I wouldn't go up to people and start a conversation. I would wait until I'm spoken to and then like we can talk. But after my podcast, I talk to anybody, which is really really shocking to myself cuz like now I'm just like, man, I can really just strike up a conversation with anybody, but I for the longest I would not. I was always say like I speak when I am spoken to, but then I have what they call a resting bitch face when I'm like not smiling. So people used to always think I was mad. So they're like, "You're not approachable." So that's why we wouldn't talk to you. Or like we always thought that you were mad. So that's why we wouldn't. But yeah, like I was not the type of person to like start a conversation with like anybody. Mm-mm.
That so I was asking my husband if I had, because I thought I had a resting smiling face, and he's like, no.
No.
He's like, no.
Oh,
He's
that's
like, you don't have a
hilarious.
resting bitch face, but you don't have a resting smile.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
I think the final thing is when if you do decide to have guests, you have to discern what type of guests you're gonna have. For
Yes.
me, it's very much obviously for you, it's very much people with an immigration story. Are
Mhm.
you just doing for like immigrants and first gen or just immigrants?
Yeah, so immigrant first gen, I went even as far back as fifth generation because she did her family history. She wrote a book about her family history. They were Jews that fled the Holocaust and they settled in Seattle. So she was actually able to go to like different parts of Seattle and
Oh
like
wow.
see like houses that her family built, and so she wrote a whole book about it. So that's why I went as far back as fifth generation, but it's usually immigrants or children of immigrants themselves. That's who I interview on the podcast.
And for me, it's people across communities of color, which I love because and the reason I went that route, not just and obviously because I'm Latina, a lot of Latinos come on the
Yes.
podcast, right? But my thing was for me, I have my friends come from across communities of color. I
Mhm.
have Black friends, Asian friends, right? Like Laotian friends, Vietnamese friends, you know, the across the Latina diaspora, all of that. So I was like, I wanted a space that we could all come together because that's something that I found, especially back then, that I didn't find on any other podcast. I found very, um, like there was just like say there was a Black podcast, there was a Latino podcast, or was an like it, but
Mm,
I never like what I didn't see at that time was a podcast that brought us all
all
together
together, yeah.
so we could all share our stories with one another. And so I was
Yeah.
like, but those are my friends. My friends come from across everything. So
Yeah, that's
why
beautiful.
wouldn't I want to have that represented? To me, it reflected me and my life. And that's what I wanted to bring in the
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh,
And then I
that's
love
beautiful.
wine. So hello.
Hello. Have
Hello.
you gotten sponsorship from wines? Like different
So
wine companies?
yes and no. I created the first directory of Latina wine brands
Hmm.
like that had ever been done. So I have a lot of relationships with these brands and they give me a lot of wine. We're working on something. I'll tell you once we turn off the mics. I'm working on
Okay.
something that will hopefully launch next year, having to do with the wine stuff.
Okay.
And I've gotten a couple of sponsorships, but I haven't leveraged it like I should. Like I know I
Oh,
need
okay.
to.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
like I know that I have now that I've become, right? Like I get people messaging me all the time. Have you heard of this Latino brand? Have you heard? And most of the time I know the owners, like literally they're people I can call up and be like, oh, hey. But I love that I'm the person. people think
Yeah.
about when they see
Yes.
Latina wine brands. Like,
Yeah.
because that's what, like, when they see it, they're like, oh my gosh, I need to tell Jessica, or I need to tell, people have recognized me from time to time. And they're like, are you whining? Are you the wine and
That
cheese?
is amazing. I have not gotten recognized yet, but
It's happened a couple times. It even happened when my husband used to work, be the bar manager. It happened at
yeah.
his bar, and somebody's
Uh,
like, "Hey, you're the one in Chisme," and I get girl, I do get embarrassed. I'm like, because again, I
oh.
don't.
Yeah.
I
You
again,
don't
the
like the
whole center of
attention.
attention thing. I
Yeah.
know people think that I'm crazy. They probably think I want all the attention all the time. But if I get like so nervous when people recognize me,
Oh, that's
it
good
makes
though.
me like, and I'm so appreciative of it. I'm no just like you. I am appreciative of every guest that comes on,
Oh my
every
gosh,
person
yes.
that listens, every person, because they are taking time out, you're taking your time out of your day to talk to me and to be
Yes.
here. And people are taking time out of their day to listen. And
Hmm.
that's not a small feat with the millions and millions of podcasts out there. These people are taking time to listen to us.
Yes. Oh
Like,
my gosh, yes. I usually like I don't even know how to like end my episodes besides thanking my guests a million times for like sharing their story because again, it's their immigration story, but then they're also like taking time out. I'm just like, thank you, thank you, thank you, a million times thank you because I really, really appreciate them being willing to share. I've had a handful of guests say no. They just couldn't at the time or just with everything going on, which I completely understood. But like the ones that have said yes, I'm just like, thank you. Like this
yeah.
means so much to me.
Yes, I'm starting to get where I've had to say no is I feel so bad when I get palm colored people. It's my podcast. When I get the white people wanting to be on the podcast, even if they want to talk about wine, I'm like, this is
Yeah,
not like this space. I have to be very intentional about this
you
space. This
do.
space was
Hmm.
created to amplify voices across communities of color. And as much as I appreciate you wanting to be on the podcast, unfortunately, you just don't fit the like I don't like unfortunately, I'm just not seeking guests outside of that at this time. I have to
Yeah.
try to be really nice and appreciative. But somebody from my husband's baseball team was like, "Oh, I want to be on your podcast." I said, and because we know him, I'm like, "You're white. You're not on my podcast."
You don't qualify.
Yeah, and he started laughing. He goes, "Antonio told me I was too white, but I figure I'd ask anyway."
That's hilarious. Oh, yeah. I mean, for me, as long as they're immigrants, and children of immigrants, but
Yeah. And that
I
spans globally, does it? Like skin
yeah,
color, nose, like an immigrant.
I
However,
did
there
have,
is different stories within the
there
immigrant
is,
community
and it's really
based on where
interesting.
people are from.
Yes, and it is really interesting to hear about that, about like their experience once they come, depending on if they're light skin or not. And I had one guess, you would have never known that she was an immigrant unless she told you. And she like mentioned being a guest on the podcast, and she was like, it's funny because I don't really tell people that she's an immigrant. People don't really ask her because she parece una blanquita. And then I remember like even after after her episode was released, when she was like promoting it, she didn't really promote it as her immigrant story. She just said like, "Oh, it's important to hear other perspectives and other stories." And I was like, "Hmm, okay, that's interesting."
You're a girl. Maybe I should not. Maybe I should delete this one.
I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," but yeah, yeah. So
Well, girl, I could talk to you for so much longer. I'm having so much fun with you.
same. You are such a vibe.
Thank you so much. Too. I know I'm so happy we connected. Girl, we're gonna have to just talk more often,
Yes,
period.
please.
Yes,
Yes, please.
yes.
Please.
Uh I I want to make sure that you have been able to share all of the things that you wanted to share. I feel like kind of
Yeah.
been putting in the tips in between the stories to
I was gonna
intertwine
say
the
this
tips in
was
the
really
stories.
cool because it wasn't just like this is a strategy. It's been like, let's talk here. Okay, what's this step? Let's talk here. Okay, what's this step? So this was really cool, Jessica.
I'm a pro, girl. I'm a
Yeah,
pro.
you are. You really are. But no, last thing is just like life is really, really short to be living with what if. The time is gonna pass anyways. Yes, it takes time to grow a podcast, but it's a lot of fun. I will say
It
that.
is.
I have a ton of fun growing my podcast. You really do connect with really, really great people. As long as you have good discernment and we the those out who just want a platform, but you really do connect with like the best people. The podcasting community within itself is so supportive. Like they really want to see other podcasters win, and I think it's because we know how hard it is to podcast, so we're so willing to support and help each other out.
Yes.
And yeah, so if you want to launch a podcast, I am available. I have the voice method, there's a course, there's one-on-one with me, there's a VIP day, or even just a 1 hour strategy call where you can bring all your podcasting questions and we can strategize on how to launch. And then if you want to learn more about the immigrant experience, then you can check out The American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants. Jessica, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for
Oh, thank
the space
you.
and your time. And well, yeah, it's been really, really fun. Thank you.
Yay, I'm so happy. I will make sure she find Heidi on Instagram at Heidi.delacruz and her website is HeidiDelacruz.com. All of that will be in the show notes. Heidi, thank you so much. Until
Thank
next
you.
time, mi gente.
Hola, mi gente. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wine and Chisme podcast. If you would like to hear more wine and more chisme, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Saludos.